And now, ABC presents 2020 in an instant.
The first part of the trip was just quiet in the car until part of the 101 highway in California starts turning inland. I remember seeing a big diesel truck veering into my lane. And I went to slam on my brakes and honk the horn, and he just kept coming.
The truck looked like it went over her whole car and then down in between the two spans of the bridge. It looked like a snake or something going down inside a hole and disappeared.
I suddenly opened my eyes and saw myself looking up to the road above me, and I knew we were dangling off of the side of a bridge.
We got two traps, one can't breathe, two teams.
I started screaming, "We're gonna fall, we're gonna fall. My daughter's dead, my baby's dying." My name is Kelly Groves, and I'm married. I have 3 children, Sage, Wilder, and Milo. M-Y-L-O, she's my last one. It's an acronym for, we knew this was going to be our 3rd child, and she's just completely rounded our family out perfectly. We live in San Juan Capistrano in Southern California.
We're just kind of in the middle between San Diego and LA, by the beach, and it's really close to my school. I can walk to school every day.
I'm a teacher at a school that's in my neighborhood, so all of the kids that I have in my class I get to see after school and on weekends at the grocery store, and they come over and play and have sleepovers, but very tight-knit community. Back in January of 2012, Sage came home from school with an assignment that she had to do research on one of the California missions.
Hi, Mom.
Hi, Wilder.
Hi, Mom.
Hey, honey, how was school? Just. Okay. What's this?
I have to write a paper on a California mission.
You know what would be fun? We could take a day trip to San Luis Obispo, and you could see what you're writing about firsthand.
Okay.
All right, girls trip. What do you think, Milo, huh? Your first trip.
It didn't require a field trip to a mission. It was something that she could have researched on the internet. However, because I was on maternity leave, I had the opportunity to actually take her to one of the real missions so she could experience it. My son Wilder was leaving on Friday, the 13th, to go to Reno for a BMX race with my husband. I thought this would be perfect since Wilder will be with Jason. This will be a girls' trip up to San Luis Obispo mission. Being a teacher, I think that the hands-on experience is what I felt was going to be more memorable for her. And we could get a lot more research out of it and photos and pictures.
Hey, sis. Not awesome. My car broke down. I know. Hey, look, I promised Sage I'd take her to San Luis Obispo, part of her school project. Yeah, any chance I could borrow your car for a couple days? Awesome.
My mom's car broke down 3 weeks before, so we borrowed my aunt's car.
Oh, remember, don't roll down the back window. It sticks.
Okay.
You girls have fun.
Thanks, Carrie.
Time.
My sister Carrie had a 4-door BMW. It was a 10, 11-year-old car. Very comfortable to drive in. Felt very safe. I had driven it once or twice, but I had never taken it on a long trip before.
You girls ready? Is Ruthie buckled?
Yeah. She is, of course.
All right, let's go. Bye, guys.
The first part of the trip was just quiet in the car. Milo slept almost the entire time. We were listening to some music in the car. Sage was singing. We would be chit-chatting. Other times she would be watching a movie on the laptop in the back seat. Sage was looking forward to this trip because she was going to have just some time with Mommy and the new baby, Milo, and not have her little brother there. Things really were uneventful until part of the 101 highway in California starts turning inland after driving along the beach through Santa Barbara. And as soon as it started turning inland, there's a rest stop a couple miles in. And we stopped at the rest stop to use the restroom and to eat some lunch. I had put Milo's window down, and I couldn't roll it back up.
I thought you said it was that one that didn't work. Yeah, no, they're both stuck down. I gotta call your aunt. Hey, Carrie. Yeah, remember the window you told me not to put down? Yeah, well, I did. And now both of them are stuck down.
And she said, what? That one wasn't broken? And I said, well, it's not going up either. And I said, we'll have to figure it out when I get to San Luis Obispo, but we need to get going because we want to get to the mission before it closes. By then it was after 2 o'clock, and we really just wanted to finish the last hour and a half of the trip. After we left the rest stop, Sage put in a movie on my laptop. She couldn't hear the sound because the sound from the wind coming in now, both of the back windows.
Mom, I can't hear.
It was just really windy and loud.
Use Milo's blanket. Put it over your head, see if that helps. Make your own little movie theater.
I had my blanket just over my head, so it would be like a little cave or a little fort.
I heard Milo stirring a back seat and just trying to talk to her, you know, hoping she would go back to sleep for this last hour of the trip.
Is she okay? Shh, baby, it's okay. It's okay, honey. Almost there, baby.
I knew that if she got cranky and started crying, we would have to stop again, and we just really wanted to get to where we were going. I remember seeing a big diesel truck cab in front of me. And I remember seeing him veering into my lane. I remember seeing his cab coming right over in front of me. And I went to slam on my brakes and honk the horn, and he just kept coming.
On January 12th, it was just a normal day for us, typical Thursday. I was off the following 2 days, the Friday and Saturday the next day, so I was looking forward to 5 o'clock coming around and I could turn my truck in and go do my own thing. A call came in around 12 noon to go from our city in Santa Maria to Santa Barbara, which is about 70 miles south of us. It was just a tow going to a dealership, so drove it down there and dropped it off and then started heading back to Santa Maria. The central coast of California, it's a lot of very slight rolling hills. And at that time of year in January, it's very green, and it's a very pretty area, a lot of vineyards and such. As I was heading north, and we're going through these rolling little gentle curves in the hills, I saw in front of me a small car in the fast lane of the freeway and a semi-truck in the slow lane. As we came up on this, one of the curves, they were coming up onto a bridge. I saw the tractor trailer drifting into the small car's lane. I remember thinking, boy, he's getting awful close. And then he actually hit the car. And my mind was like, oh, there's an accident. An accident is bump away and it's going to be over with. But the tractor stayed on the car. They wound up hitting the center divider, the concrete divider, for a few feet, and then went plowing through the bridge itself. The truck looked like it went over her whole car and then down in between the two spans of the bridge, pulling the trailer with it. It looked like a snake or something going down inside a hole and disappeared. I just remember putting on my brakes, hitting him a little bit, then hitting him pretty hard. I flipped on all my lights on my truck. I didn't want anybody else trying to go past me and getting into this debris field that's in front of us. With the truck exploded and the car, what was left of it on that bridge, I thought nobody was alive. I knew for sure that the driver of the semi-truck was gone. The people in the car, I had no idea who was in the car, how many people, but it was just a small, mangled piece of metal that was left on there that you couldn't tell what kind of car it was. There's no way that anybody could survive that accident.
Come on.
California Highway Patrol.
Hello. There's a huge accident right now, I believe a fatal. It's on the 101, northbound 101. A semi-truck just went right through a small a BMW.
Okay.
We are 2.4 miles before fuel temp. There's a fire, and I believe it's a fatal.
Seconds it must have been that had gone by when I suddenly opened my eyes and saw myself looking up to the road above me. And when I looked down, I could see my feet hanging out of the car, and I knew we were dangling off of the side of a bridge. When I looked down, I could see the truck and could feel the heat from then an explosion that came from the truck, and I could see the flames, feel the heat under my feet. And the minute I saw that, the reality of the situation began to set in, and right then I just yelled for Sage.
Sage? Sage? Sage, honey? Sage? Sage, honey, we've been in an accident. Sage, please answer me, honey. Please. Sage.
I didn't have any response, didn't hear anything. I turned my head to the right to look to where she had been sitting in the back seat, and there was nothing but mangled metal. The engine was now sitting almost in the passenger seat next to me. I was sitting on the side of the car because the car was hanging sideways. And as I called for Sage and she didn't answer and I couldn't see her, I thought, oh my God, she's been thrown out of the car.
It was my day off, and I was in the office that day to give a presentation to the Santa Barbara County Vintners Association.
34 San Luis 1179. Report vehicle versus truck northbound on Highway 101 at 3 bridges. Ambulance.
We could hear a call go out on the radio of an 1179, a vehicle accident with an ambulance rolling, and fire involved also at the accident.
Ambulances on route.
I was on duty. It was my shift. I was responsible for anything that happened within the Buellton jurisdiction along US 101. Just after 2:30, we get reports from 911. You get real sketchy details when the initial 911 calls come in, so you really sometimes don't know what you have, but you can hear that something really bad has happened, and you're just not sure what it is.
For San Luis 1179, all available units, please respond.
And you could tell from the sense of urgency on the radio that it was a major incident.
I walked down the hallway to the back lot of our office. We're only talking maybe 2 to 3 miles from the location of where my office is to where this accident was. And when I looked in that direction, that's when I saw it. It looked like a bomb dropped right on this one area, and it was a plume cloud of black smoke going straight up.
I wanted to get to north side of the bridge because I figured that there's nothing else to do, there's nobody to help, and I didn't want to be stuck by the firemen and the highway patrol. So I started to slowly drive through the debris field and smoke to get to the north side of the bridge.
For Sage, and she didn't answer, and I couldn't see her. I thought, is she down there? Is she down at the bottom of this ravine that was below me? No, she must be up on the road somewhere up there because she's not in the car.
Sage! Sage!
So I'm screaming for her, and at that time, I hear the baby screaming in the back. I thought, oh my God, she's hurt too. And as I turned to reach my arm behind me to see if I could feel Milo, I saw a small patch of Sage's blonde hair sticking out from the seats and the metal that had been smashed on top of where she had been. And to me, I thought, oh my God, she's trapped in there and she's dead. So I tapped on her head. I said, Sage, we've been in an accident, sweetie. Sage, do you hear me? Oh my God, somebody help me. And I'm screaming to anybody.
After I parked the truck, I started walking towards it. I heard a woman screaming from the car. And then all of a sudden, oh my God, somebody is alive.
Highway Patrol. There's a lady trapped in the car with her baby. They are dangling over the edge of the rail right now.
So is that the BMW?
Yes, that's in the BMW.
Okay, so you can hear her, but you can't see her?
Yes, we cannot see her. We can hear her, but we cannot see her. She's screaming in there. It's completely smashed over.
They're on their way.
She was kind of screaming, please hurry, my babies are inside, my kids are everything, my kids are my life.
Listen to me. Ambulances, fire trucks, police are on their way, okay?
Hurry, please, hurry, my little girl!
Sir, don't touch the car! No, sir, don't do that, please.
I remember one man was kind of trying to reach maybe into the car to try to feel for the kids. And I remember telling him, stay off the car because we didn't really know how stable the car was.
I never saw this man, but I remember his voice.
She's still warm. I'm holding her hand and it's still warm. You hear that? They're already on their way. Okay? They're gonna get you guys out of here. I promise you. Hey, look, don't look down. No, look right at me. It's gonna be fine. They're almost here.
I remember him saying, hear the sirens? They're coming, they're coming. And at that point, I heard her, this muffled sound saying, Mom.
Mom? 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 Hey! I hear you! I hear you! I was unconscious, and then I woke up. I could see my arms, which were outstretched in front of me. I couldn't see my mom or my sister. I could hear my sister crying, and I could hear my mom, but I couldn't really hear what she was saying. Mommy. Mommy. Baby, I'm here. Mommy. I'm here. I can't breathe. She can't breathe. Please hurry. I'm dying. Sage, I'm here. Sage. Sage.
The Highway Patrol seemed to arrive within about probably less than 10 minutes. It seemed like a long time, but I remember telling her, they're here, don't worry, Highway Patrol now has arrived. I remember the firemen all coming out of the trucks and stuff. You could start hearing like a sizzling sound, and then pops. And I believe they were probably the tires on the semi-truck that were cooking off. They were, heating up and then bursting.
Everybody, off the bridge until we get this fire out. Go, 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 go.
So I was hearing reports that this was a very, very serious situation. It was very smoky, really, really bad. And of course, traffic was at a standstill, both northbound and southbound on 101.
All this stuff that used to be the car was on top of me. I couldn't really take a big breath in, so I couldn't really take a big breath out. Mom, help!
I hear this, Mom, I can't breathe. And I thought she has minutes. And so as I tried to stick my hand in around this little patch of hair through the car seats, I tried to reach my hand in to find where her face was. So I could maybe pry the seats a little bit to give her some air.
I'm gonna try to lift it, honey.
I reached my hand back to try to touch Milo because she's still screaming. And when I pulled my hand back, it was dripping in her blood. I didn't know what part of her was bleeding. And in my head, it was her head is completely cut open. And she's going to bleed to death if this car doesn't fall before that happens.
Help us, please!
What's the plan?
We need a full-size crane in here to keep that vehicle from going over while we get them out. Seems to be the only viable plan.
I remember talking to one of the battalion chiefs or division chiefs that were on scene that their thoughts were to bring in a crane, a large-sized crane, to stabilize the vehicle from above. I had called the Department of Transportation because the bridge was relatively destroyed.
There's no way I'm certifying a 30-ton crane on this bridge. Both sides took a hit. Whole thing could go down.
The Caltrans engineer felt that he would not be able to certify the weight of the crane on that location. They were concerned about a bridge collapse.
Well, what are we supposed to do here? This vehicle's gonna fall, gentlemen.
When I parked my truck on the north side of the bridge, I left it running. Highway patrol officer was next to me. As I was talking to him, my truck started backing up. That split second, my mind was going, oh, my truck popped into gear. What's going on?
Hold up with the stroke sign. It's not up. We just stole that from somebody. It's packed, right?
The fire department commandeered his tow truck, and they were basically trying to get that tow truck in position, and they didn't know really how to operate the vehicle.
I told the CHP officer, I said, you know, do you want me to help him? I go, he doesn't know how to use the line. And he said, yeah, go help him. They asked me to, like, if you have any chains, ropes, chains, straps, anything, get everything we can on this thing to try to make it as stable as possible. The firemen had a lot of ropes, like climbing ropes. So they asked me, actually, can you help us just to find spots to, you know, hook on the car that you think will hold if it does decide to go over?
He basically triangulated the car, so his cable went off of the bridge railing and then back across both northbound lanes, and he tied off on the back of the BMW.
Think it'll hold? For now, for a while, maybe. That's a lot of weight on these lines.
My thought was, it'll probably hold okay, but it might just rip in half.
We don't have a whole lot of other options right now. Or time.
I wasn't confident at all that the ropes were going to hold that BMW up. Basically, this BMW was tied off to the bridge with climbing ropes. It was a heavy vehicle.
Looking down and seeing where this car is going to be in a minute now, having Milo crying in the back seat, having Sage not being able to breathe, I remember thinking, oh, this is real, and this is what it's like when a parent loses a child and witnesses it and lives through it, and then I'm gonna die as well, and then I have my son at home with my husband, and this can't be happening. This can't happen like this, and I just screamed for everyone to help in some way, and no one could do anything because of where we were hanging off of this bridge.
Our engine gets there. The fire was just being put out, so it's still smoky. You could see Kelly hanging off the bridge in her car, and then Engine 31's crew trying to cut out Sage and get to Milo. I mean, it really just looked like a dripping chunk of metal, you know, that was gonna fall. I've been a firefighter for 19 years. Probably one of the worst car accidents I've seen in my career.
From talking to the division chief on scene, I know that there is a young woman and her 2 young children in the vehicle. The division chief described the woman and one of the children as severely injured and believed that the infant child in the car might be dead because the child was unresponsive at that time. I look over at the incident command post on the southbound lanes, and I see my commander is on scene. So I decided to text her the situation status report. So I texted Lorraine that the vehicle had 2 severely injured occupants and 1 baby that they suspected was dead. I'll never forget Lorraine looking across. It was probably 60 feet between 2 bridges, and we met eyes. Can you believe this? You know, we were both scheduled to retire soon. Rain was going to retire in August, and I was going to retire at the end of the year. And what a way to end our careers with a dead infant, a dead child.
I'd looped my arm around the top of Milo's car seat somehow because I remembered her window was down. I had this fear that somehow that car seat wasn't going to hold her, and that in the crash that she would fall out of the window, out of the car seat, or the car seat would fall out completely.
Doing good.
No one could do anything because of where we were hanging off of this bridge, and I knew it was completely hopeless. I knew this is the end. This isn't right. This isn't how, you know, Sage, who was so full of life, I'm never gonna hear her singing again. I'm never gonna see her smiling. Her belly laugh that she has, and Milo has no idea at 10 weeks old what life even is, and should this car fall right now, that sensation, she's not even going to be able to understand any of it, and it was just complete terror. My dad had passed away about 6 months before, very suddenly. And I just remember saying to him, "But Dad, please don't take my girls. Wherever you are, you don't need them. I need them here. They are my life. Please don't take them." I felt that that was just the only person that would be able to save us in some way. I could keep feeling the baby. I would start tapping on her chest, or I'd slap her cheeks, stick fingers in her mouth, some way to get a reaction, and then I'd feel her stir and start crying. I'd think, okay, she's okay now, and then backstage and trying to just find some sense of life in both of them.
Sage, honey.
And I remember someone, firefighter, up on the bridge. Okay, we're gonna try to tie up your car and hold it.
Okay. We're tying up your car right now to hold it stable, okay? We're getting you out as soon as we can. You're doing good.
And I just said, you have to get my daughter Sage out of here. She's dying. She can't breathe, and we're gonna fall. Just hurry, hurry, please get us out of here. And he said, well, you know, we're gonna try. We're doing the best that we can.
Hi, Kelly. I'm Greg. We're gonna get you out of there, okay?
Greg, you have to save my kids. Please, don't let them die in here.
She was crying, scared to death, but was able to talk. You know, she hadn't lost control of herself or anything. But it was, if you can imagine, I mean, you don't even know if your kids are alive. You don't even know if you're gonna live. And you don't know if you're gonna get out or how you're gonna get out. I think you could just tell it was overwhelming for her, you know.
Don't let us fall. Don't you let us fall, please. Please. Please.
Her most important thing were her kids. Her most important thing.
I think I'm gonna throw up.
That's okay. You go right ahead and throw up if you need to.
And he had said, my name is Greg, and I'm gonna fill you in every step of the way as we try to get you and your girls out of here.
Please save my kids. Please save my baby. She was like 10 weeks older. I mean, she was little, Milo was.
I can't live without them.
Kelly, she was a mother of 3 with a brand new baby. And then this whole thing about ready to go. It had to be terrifying for her. I honestly, I don't know how her mind, you know, even was able to comprehend all that.
I was in and out. You get really dizzy and your vision's kind of fuzzy. You like feel like the room's spinning, and then you come to. You don't know how long it's been since you were in the last time, and then you go back out again.
Sage, honey, can you hear me? Sage, honey, can you hear me? Say help if you can hear me, baby. I can hear you, Mom. No. Good job. Keep saying help, okay?
Sage would go quiet, and I thought, oh my God, she's dead. She's not answering me now. She's not answering me. And I'd start tapping that part of her head again, and then I'd hear this little help, and I'd think, okay, she's talking again. She's talking again.
I can hear you, Mom. I thought I'm gonna like stop breathing because I can't breathe enough and I might die.
Nobody knew if Sage was alive or dead. I mean, you know, you would hear groaning. She would respond to maybe simple sort of questions, but there were a lot of spaces in between when she would talk. And so you didn't have this constant dialogue from her, so you didn't know if there was a dead kid or a live kid in there. And they were cutting out to see if it was.
I could hear like orders being shouted back and forth. I could hear like metal scraping, and which is like them trying to pull pieces off the car.
Mommy! Mommy!
So you can spread metal and you can cut metal. There's also kind of what we call ram bar, and you can push metal. Basically, they're trying the best they can to cut, spread, or push this metal away from Sage without compromising any more injuries in a vehicle that's almost made to be indestructible in a location that's very dangerous.
I could hear people say, it's gonna fall, and I was like, what are they talking about? I heard my mom say it a couple times, we're gonna fall, and I was like, I don't even understand, what do you mean fall? I had no idea there's any bridge near us.
I remember one of the firemen saying, we have to stop, the car's gonna fall.
No, you can't stop! You can't stop, please! Please don't stop!
You can't give up because Sage is still alive and she's trying to fight here, and you have to give her a chance. You can't just give up because she's not giving up. At that point, I saw one of the firemen's faces, and he sighed, and I remember him looking at one of his fellow firefighters and said, whatever we do, we have to do it fast because we're losing this one.
Don't say that! I can hear you, okay? Don't say that! She's fighting so hard! You can't say that. I can't hear you.
It's just a crumbled up ball of metal. How can anybody survive this?
Inside was 10-week-old Milo. We weren't sure if she was alive.
Don't tell me she's dying. Just get us out of here already!
For whatever reason, a big rig tractor trailer was passing a small car on the right lane when it suddenly veered out of control. went into the bridge railing, destroyed it, and then went down to the creek bed where it burst into flames and left Kelly Grove's blue BMW impaled on the bridge railing.
When you look at the car, you're wondering how can anybody survive this, because it's basically just a crumbled up ball of metal.
All this damage from this accident had collapsed around this car seat, and inside was 10-week-old Milo, and we weren't sure if she was alive or if she was deceased.
Sage had basically been crushed by that truck when the truck ran her over. She'd been crushed in the back seat of that car and was basically suffocating. At this point, they're becoming, I wouldn't say desperate in their attempt to get into the car, but I would say that they're deploying methods I've never seen before. I actually watched as they took a ladder and put it across the span between the two bridges, and I think they were even contemplating having one of their firemen go out on this ladder in an attempt to cut into the vehicle.
I remember one of the firemen saying, whatever we do, we have to do it fast because we're losing this one. And I told him, I said, I heard you say that. You can't, you have to get her out. Don't tell me she's dying. Don't tell me you're losing her, because I can't even imagine her leaving me. And I think that I was giving up at that point. And knowing that Sage wasn't going to make it, and even if we made it out of here, that I couldn't wake up tomorrow without her.
Please, just get us out of here already! It's taking so long! Please call my husband! Just call my husband! Come on, she's dying!
There's all these thoughts and ideas. She can't even really comprehend them all. Thoughts like, are my kids alive? She was saying things too, like, you need to call my husband. I mean, all these things are going through her head, right? All these things.
I think I said, I can't do this, I can't do this, I can't live without them.
Kelly! Kelly!
While I was sitting there talking to Kelly, I thought of a family friend who was really good at giving pep talks and kind of got you to focus on sort of your task at hand and, you know, motivate you. And so I thought of him in that moment, and a little bit of that came back to me.
You gotta be strong right now.
I can't do this, I can't live without them.
Kelly, you gotta dig deep down inside and find the strength to fight for your girls.
Okay. He had said to me, you need to dig deep down inside and find strength to fight for your girls. And that hit me really, really hard, to think that this isn't about this car falling. If it falls, what can I can't do anything. All I can do is keep Sage and Milo alive as long as I can. And my thinking started switching to just going minute by minute.
Sage! Sage, can you hear me? Please say something. I can hear you. Help. That's so good. Honey, I'm here. It's gonna be okay, okay? They're gonna get you out.
I'd like to hope that that kind of helped Kelly focus on some things, or turn a corner where she could focus on being a mom and let this rescue, all this other crap that she was thinking of, just get dealt with by someone else.
Milo. Milo, Mommy's here.
At this minute, I can touch Milo's chest and I can feel her heart beating, so I know she's still here. And at this minute, Sage is answering me when I call her. And that's all that matters, because right now she's alive and she's still with me. And every minute mattered to me.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
I had noticed a group of military vehicles stopped in traffic just north of the accident scene in the southbound lane. There was a group of about 8 of them, and they were watching the rescue tent from that location.
On Thursday, January 12, 2012, My group of Seabees and I were traveling back from our training exercise and came upon an accident.
So much for making home tonight. Look at this.
A Seabee is a construction engineer, a side of the Navy that not very many people know about.
Might as well stretch our legs, go have a look.
We were able to see that this car was slipping off. The more and more that the car was being cut apart. That also added a sense of urgency to be able to get everybody out. We knew we had to do something because we had something that we knew would work.
Come on. Excuse me, officer? Officer.
What are you guys, Army?
CPs, sir, Navy Construction. Look, I think we can help you guys out. I've got a forklift on my truck a ways back, and I think...
Forklift? Okay, yeah, maybe you guys can direct traffic back there. Get some of these cars turned around for us.
Yes, sir, we'd be more than happy to help direct traffic, but what I was saying...
They had a forklift sitting a couple hundred yards back on a trailer that would work out perfectly for putting this car back on the road so that the emergency rescue crews could get the people out. And we knew we had to do something because we had something that we knew would work. We just didn't feel like our word got across.
All right, look at the forklift off the truck. Be ready to show them what we can do, all right?
About 30 to 45 minutes went by, and we saw the struggle of everybody trying to be pulled out of the vehicle. We are dads, and that kind of gave us a sense of, you know what, we got to do something. We all have young children at home. We need to do something. Because we had something that we knew would work. We just didn't feel like our word got across.
We don't like to use equipment that hasn't been vetted. Everything that we use at a scene has already been tested, so we don't like to go outside of what is tried and true with us.
Sir, can I help you? Pardon me, sir. I think I'm the one who's here to help you. Look, I've got a construction forklift with a telescoping arm just down the road.
I asked the man, I said, what kind of equipment do you have? And he said, I have a forklift. And I kind of laughed to myself. I said, how is a forklift? Because I'm imagining the forklift that they use at Costco and thinking, how is a forklift going to help me at this scene? He says, no, I have an industrial-sized forklift that we use to load and unload heavy equipment.
I think we can stabilize this wreck from the other side of the bridge, give these guys a chance to get those girls out of there. What do you say? Let's go.
And I said, let's do it. Let's go.
The car still was not secure. I could feel it moving and jolting every time they tried to cut some part off the outside of the car. I could feel extreme pain in my hip area, and I tried moving my legs, and I couldn't move them. It hurt to move them, and I felt crackling of bone, and I thought, I know my pelvis is broken.
Greg, please save my kids. Please, you have to get them out of here. Don't let them die. Please don't you let us fall. Please.
Being with a patient for that long and it going that slow, it does get uncomfortable. You are constantly, reassuring. And then at some point you sort of have to start reassuring yourself, like, is this gonna go, how we planned? Because it took a long time. It's a life and death situation. Time was going by very slow.
I I had actually run up to the trailer. There was like a little bit of hesitation. The forklift was all unchained, and I was sitting there. Nobody really knew what to do afterwards. Everybody froze. And I just took it upon myself to jump in the forklift.
About an hour after the accident happened, I noticed this group of Seabees. You see behind them coming a forklift. I've worked construction, and when I saw that, I knew that we're okay. This is perfect. This is the tool they needed.
The public perception of a forklift probably is something that lifts pallets. This is a military forklift, really kind of funky looking with big tires. It's green, but it has these forks that extend out 20, 25 feet.
The truck had hit the side railing of the southbound lanes and had pushed a big hole in the side of the guardrail. And so what this forklift driver did is he positioned himself at the perfect angle to the car, and he just pushed that blades of that forklift right through the hole that the truck had already made.
I just felt like I had to be real smooth. I didn't want to get my emotions mixed up with it. If you get your emotions mixed up with it, it's harder to focus, and then you make mistakes. But it's more of, this is the operation that I have to do, not the fact that I was holding a car up or that there were people in the car.
I remember seeing this jagged tooth coming in underneath where my feet were hanging out of the car.
Stop the forklift, her feet, you're gonna crush her feet.
And someone had said, stop, her feet are there. And I said, I'll try to move my feet. And I reached under my legs and tried to lift my legs up so this tooth could come underneath where my feet were.
No, it's okay. I think I can move them.
They had me place my forks right underneath the car just to where it barely made contact with the car, because there was a fear that if I did lift it, that it would cause more harm to everybody in the vehicle still.
Okay, let's move it, people. Let's get that little girl out of there. She's running out of time.
Sage had basically been crushed by that truck when the truck ran her over. She had been crushed in the back seat of that car and was basically suffocated.
No one could see Sage. And that was the #1 priority. The vehicle was stable, although it was still precarious. Kelly was conscious. Mila was still breathing. Kelly could touch her. But Sage, it was the unknown.
Still not having any idea of what this plan was with the forklift. I thought maybe they would try to lift the car back over the bridge. And then once it was there, I remember someone saying, okay, we can keep cutting now.
Sage, can you hear me? You need to keep fighting, baby, okay? You need to yell so they know exactly where you are. Yell, honey, yell help. Oh, good job. So good, it's so good. Keep yelling.
My mom told me to keep talking, so I just kept saying help over and over, and there's almost rhythm.
Help.
Sage's body was somewhere buried inside of all the metal, and I see this speck of blue sky, and I knew that they had taken some big piece off of the car, and if I could see them, then they could see me, and they could see where Sage was, and someone saying, I see her. Very quickly, as soon as that happened, I see them pulling Sage through this little worm-like hole and seeing her limp body just being twisted and pulled out, and then she was gone.
Oh God, is she alive? Is she alive?
She's alive. She's alive.
They put her onto a backboard, you know, and right behind them was the nurses from the helicopter, and off she went.
They started to wheel her past me. There was a doll that Sage had with her that fell off, like right in front of me. And I remember thinking to myself oh my God, she dropped her doll. She's gonna want that. I grabbed the doll, and I heard tapping one of the firemen on the back of his jacket. And he didn't respond at first. So then I remember tapping him harder because it's a big, heavy jacket that the firemen wear.
She's gonna want that.
You could tell she was really, really scared, and you could tell she was hurt. I watched as they loaded her in the helicopter, and then I continued to watch the rescue from there. And of course, I was very concerned for what was going to happen next. I couldn't hear Kelly screaming and crying because the noise that the forklift makes, the noise that the Jaws of Life makes, it's real loud. So I couldn't hear her communicating with the firemen. I couldn't hear it at all. The chief had told me that this baby was unresponsive, and I was kind of preparing myself for when we're going to take the baby out.
Any word on the baby?
We knew that the next one to come out was the 10-week-old baby. So I asked the CHP officer, I said, do you know how the baby is? What's with the baby? And he just kind of shook his head no. And at that time, excuse me a second. And at that moment, my mind is thinking, oh my God, I got to get out of here. I don't want to see a dead baby. I do not want to be here. I don't want to see this. But again, the way my mind works are always like, you know what? It'll suck it up. You have this little job to do, and just do your job. And whatever happens, happens, and you'll deal with this later. Somebody's counting on you to do this. Somebody's counting on you to finish this up and just finish it up. The firemen couldn't get the baby to talk. They didn't hear the baby. They couldn't reach in or feel the baby or nothing, so nobody really knew if the baby was alive or not. He was not responsive, so either the baby is sleeping or the baby's gone. And that was the only information we had.
Hey, how safe is it to go out on the arm of that thing?
One of the firefighters had asked if he would be able to climb out on the forks and use that as a platform to work off of. And we were like, yeah, absolutely, as long as you're tied off.
It's all right, Kelly. It's all right. It's all right. I'm coming down here. It's okay. I'm just gonna make some noise here, but I'm coming down to get Milo.
Greg walked over the car that was hanging off of our side of the bridge and was standing on this forklift, and through that back window that had been rolled down, he was able to get in. He said, okay, you're going to have to let go of her now, though, because I was still holding on to the car seat.
Okay, Kelly. I'm gonna get Milo out now, but you're gonna have to let go of her. It's okay, Kelly. I'm not gonna drop your baby.
Please be careful. Don't.
It's all right.
Kelly has her hand on Milo. I'm like, wow, how are you gonna tell him? Well, I'm like, hey, I'm gonna take your baby out of this car right over this ravine, and I'm gonna lift it up, so just let go.
He had cut the straps away, and I had this intense panic of, oh my God, he's gonna drop her. And I said, can you please wrap her in some kind of net or something? Don't drop her, don't drop her. And he said, I'm not gonna drop her.
Getting to Milo, it was almost like reaching down into a little hole or like a big bucket or something, right? And there just wasn't a lot of room to work in there. And a lot of times harnesses or rescue systems or components will get put onto patients to extricate them, to pull them out. There was really no room to do that. There was Milo in her car seat, undid the buckle, took off my gloves. People were handing me stuff, and I literally set it aside. I made a decision to hang on as tight as I could and just lift her up, you know?
Here we go.
And he pulls this baby out. The baby's eyes were closed, which I expected because I'd been told that she was unresponsive, so I was expecting the worst. And when Knuckles pulled her out, he popped her straight up in the air. And when he did, her little hand shot out like that, and her eyes popped wide open.
He's alive.
What's going on? Is she okay? Is she okay? Is she alive?
She's alive. You're next, Mama.
I had this enormous, just almost a sigh of gratitude and sense that even if I don't make it, they're safe. And that's, I did my job and I kept my girls alive.
We had another sigh of relief that somebody else was pulled out of the car. But Kelly, I saw her in the car still, and I was like, well, we're not done yet.
All right, Kelly. You think you can get yourself up through out there? We got Sage out?
No, I can't move my legs.
They said, well, do you want to come out the way Sage came out, or do you want to come out the front of the car? And I looked at this tiny hole that they had pulled Sage out of, and I said, I can't move my legs. There's no way I can get out from that.
Can you go this way?
Okay. There you go. That's it, right here.
The firefighters had laid this big, thick blanket so I wouldn't get cut on all the shards of metal and glass that was in front of me. And Greg was turning my feet, trying to help from the bottom while they pulled my arms up through the top.
Getting Kelly out, she almost climbed out on her own, honestly. It's all we could do to have her, like, not climb out on her own.
The only thing I could say was, how's Sage? How's Sage? They said, well, she's in, we only have 2 helicopters, and she's in one of them, and there she goes right now. And as they're wheeling me toward my helicopter, I see a helicopter going over my head.
There goes Sage. We're putting you on the next one.
What? No, that needs to be for Milo. Milo needs to go first.
Kelly.
And I said, well, why are you putting me in the helicopter without Milo? And one of the paramedics said, she seems to be fine. And we only have 2. And out of the 3 of you, she is the least hurt. And so we're going to put her in an ambulance and drive her. And I said, that's impossible. She was covered in blood. No, take her in the helicopter. There's got to be something wrong with her. and they said she seems to have just a couple scrapes on her head, and we need to get you there first. So I was in no position to fight with them.
She gets out and she gets on the gurney, and the first thing I noticed about Kelly is, you know, when I looked at the two kids, you couldn't see any immediate signs of injury. When I looked at Kelly, it was obvious that there was something severely wrong, because the top portion of her body was angled off of the bottom portion of her body. So it was almost like she was trying to lay on her side, but her legs were flat on the gurney. It was like somebody had twisted her body in half like that.
Where's Milo? How's Milo doing? My husband, I need as hard as my husband. Where's my husband? Does someone call my husband?
I continued to say, how is Sage? How is Milo? I'm laying in the emergency room with doctors stitching up my elbow that had been cut, my knee. I was very much alert and mechanical, like a machine. The doctors were asking me questions and I could answer them. What's your name? What's your phone number? Date of birth? I could just rattle the answers off. It was almost as if I had kicked into some other mode.
How's Milo? When can I see her?
Oh, Milo's fine. She just had a few scratches. Okay?
What about Sage? How is she doing?
Sage is still in surgery. Other than broken bones, tests are coming back fine. Okay?
Okay, I want to see my girls.
I know you do.
Okay. Is my husband here yet? I need to talk to my husband.
I said, you need to call my husband. His name is Jason. He's home with my son. And please call my sister, Carrie. It was her car, and they need to come up here.
Don't you want milk with that?
The person kept calling our home phone, and we didn't know who it was, so we didn't answer it. Then when it started calling my dad's phone, he picked it up and answered it, and they said that your wife and your kids got in a fender bender.
Hello? What?
Jason had asked the doctor, well, are they okay? And the doctor said, well, Sage has a broken leg, but you need to come up here. And my husband said, well, we're going that direction tomorrow, Friday, anyway, for a BMX race up in Reno. So can we just stop by in the morning? And at that point, the doctor said, no, you need to come now, and I highly recommend someone drive you.
Right after Kelly got pulled out of the car, the firefighters asked us to hold on for a minute so that they could get all their ropes and everything picked up. And then they wanted us to put the car back on the road. The stressful stuff was all done. I just lifted and then pushed the car back on the road. I was grateful that we were able to offer what we had, and it saved people's lives. I just wish we would have done something sooner. Been a little more persistent. They could have fallen down over the edge of the bridge and died. I don't remember what time it was that I got home, but I know it was late. My wife and son were waiting at home. I hugged my child extra tight, just valuing the importance of life and then how fast it can be taken from you.
You know, it's just a relief that they finally got out. You know, it was 2 hours of sitting there, hoping that everybody was alive, and then finally getting them out, you know, taking a big breath all of a sudden. Now it's just a matter of cleanup, you know. Let me get my stuff and go back home.
When we got to the hospital, my dad figured out that it just wasn't a fender bender. It was a bad accident.
How could she still be in surgery?
Her injuries are more extensive than we previously thought. I'm afraid it's more than just broken bones.
When Jason got there, he walked into the emergency room and the doctor said, well, Sage is in surgery. And Jason said, but she was in surgery 4 hours ago. How could she still be in surgery? And the doctor began filling him in on the extensive injuries that Sage had. It wasn't just a broken leg. This is exactly what I was afraid was going to happen, is that we made it and I'm going to lose her now.
Her injuries are more extensive than we previously thought. I'm afraid it's more than just broken bones.
The doctor began filling him in on the extensive injuries that Sage had. It wasn't just a broken leg. Her pelvis had been shattered. Her femur was smashed. They had to insert a rod. Her tendons on her left foot were slashed, so she had no movement in her foot. She had over 100 stitches throughout her body from where glass had just cut up.
Hi, honey. Oh, I'm so happy to see you guys. I'm okay.
I had a shattered pelvis. Other than that, it was just a few stitches on my knee and my elbow. Couldn't believe that that was all that had happened to me as well.
I'm so glad you're here.
My night nurse, Kim, she said, well, I can take you down to see Sage. And I thought, how do you, I can't move. I'm in bed and she said, I'll just wheel the bed down. And I just remember being very dark and I see Sage, who looked so tiny in this big hospital bed. And she had tubes, but her face was not a single scratch on her face. She still had that beautiful glow.
Hi, baby. You did so good. I'm so happy to see you. I love you.
And she could just look at me with her eyes, and I could just tell from her she was still so scared. And I could hold her hand, and then she would go to sleep. She was, just completely traumatized. But she was alive. Milo was released 24 hours after she was admitted with 4 scratches on her head. No stitches, nothing else. No one came out of this accident without some type of scar, including Ruthie, who was left with a black burn mark from something in the car. Jason didn't understand the magnitude of this until he was sitting the next morning at the hospital, and there was a newspaper, and on the front page was a picture of the car hanging off of the bridge with me in it.
I remember my aunt at the hospital, seeing her crying and stuff, and I was like, why are you crying? And when I said, sorry, we trashed your car, she ended up laughing.
Oh, remember, don't roll down the back window. It sticks. Okay.
My sister was newly out of law school, and she decided to get Old Blue, as she called it. It was a 2001 dark blue 4-door BMW. My dad said, I can't believe you'd spend that much money on a car. That's more than my first house cost. And it went on, just lending, my sister any advice that he had and how you could still take it back. And my sister said, Dad, someday this car will save my life. My sister, Carrie, completely remembers that conversation. And as soon as this accident happened, she actually went back to that conversation. It didn't save my life, but it saved 3.
Once the rescue had been accomplished, the investigation really begins. We have to put all the information and evidence together to make a determination of what caused this collision. The determination was made by the lab that the driver had nearly 4 times the amount of methamphetamines that you typically see in someone who abuses methamphetamine. There is no doubt that, that this driver was highly impaired, and because he was highly impaired, he caused this terrible collision.
I don't have any anger, but I still feel very sad that someone had to die when someone didn't have to die. I wasn't aware of what movie Sage was watching until a few weeks later. The laptop she was watching was recovered from the car. My friend was able to extract the DVD, and at that point, I had looked and saw the movie she was watching was A Series of Unfortunate Events. And that still sends shivers. This was a series of unfortunate events, absolutely. However, at the same time, what has come since then has been a series of extremely fortunate events.
For everything to fall into place like it did, everything had to happen perfectly.
If this terrible, terrible accident had happened even 5 minutes later, the Seabees wouldn't have been here. I'm glad they got delayed because we needed them, and we're thankful that they were there. Sometime in the summer of 2012, Kelly threw a barbecue for all the responders that were at the scene, and she came to thank each one of us.
I knew that this was perhaps my only opportunity to tell them and show them beyond words, thank you for giving me my family. A very good friend of mine called me to check on me when I was recovering. And he said, Kelly, do you understand what you have? And I said, what do you mean? I didn't understand what he was getting at. And he said, you have tomorrow. You have weddings. You have graduations. You have grandchildren. I thought, this is so much more than just thank you for being in the right place at the right time to the Seabees, or thank you, firefighters, for doing your job. This was so beyond that. This was giving me my tomorrows and my children's tomorrows, and this was giving me listening to them argue, and this was giving me, future prom dates for my girls and broken hearts and all the amazing things that I don't have to mourn is what these rescuers gave us.